Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Click the bell if you're a YouTube subscriber to see every episode as it goes live. And if you are not a YouTuber, click subscribe to whatever streaming service you use. Show us your support. We'd love to hear from you. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler. Sign a contract, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shout-outs like my buddy John in Texas, then check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today. Don't forget loyalty rewards, a $15 a month contributor. You get to host an episode with me. $7.50 a month contributors entered into a drawing to also host an episode with me. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, things you want us to talk about in a future episode, hit up the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160. Give us your questions there, and we'll get to those as soon as we possibly can. Don't forget, check out the homepage of the Pro Wrestling Podcast at frowrestling.com, where we have all of our previous interviews, pictures, links, the Chris Jericho cruise links, and everything. All kinds of good stuff there. Check that out at frowrestling.com. I'm going to get into the news tonight. We're going to start with NXT War Games. What a great show. Everybody killed it, top to bottom, whether it was the ladies tearing the house down in the women's War Game match. Cameron Grimes legitimately positioning himself to at some point have so much fan support that he could be a surprise big playing star in the future. I know he doesn't have the body that Vince typically pushes, but the guy can't argue with the fact that he's connecting with the crowd. And let's be honest, right now with AEW bringing the heat to WWE, that's what WWE needs more than anything. They need superstars that connect with the audience and draw in viewership. And that's something that Cameron Grimes is really building. Of course, we got to talk about Johnny Gargano. Gargano possibly leaving WWE. I personally don't believe that. I think that he's going to, sign a contract, take some time off. His wife is still signed for a while here. I think at some point we'll see him come back. And I think he really needs to move out of NXT and into either the red or the blue brand and really do something exciting. And WWE's got to get over this, he's too small, he's this, he's that, and stop pitching stupid ideas like Adam Cole being a manager kind of nonsense, and they need to do something exciting with Johnny Gargano, a guy who is supposed to be, the second coming of Shawn Michaels, just like Adam Cole was, and then you're going to let him walk away. I hope not, especially since you're probably going to lose Kyle O'Reilly also, who lost the tag team match at TakeOver, which I think is just one more signal that he's leaving. But I got to talk about the thing that really is getting me tonight from War Games, and that's bron-brekker. Yeah, it was in the news. He chose his name this week instead of going with Rex Steiner, which I think Rex Steiner would have been a lot better anyways. But I really want people to understand when I talk about bron-brekker, my impression of this kid is he could be one of the most legitimate stars in the business going forward. This kid has only been in the ring a short time. We're not talking about a 10-year indie darling who's finally getting his big break in WWE. We're talking about a kid who was a football player in college, was drafted in the NFL, or taken by an NFL team, didn't make the team, didn't make the cut, but he went into wrestling and so fast is already main eventing pay-per-views for NXT. He was asked this week about WWE stars he wants to face at WrestleMania, and he wasn't shy about it. He made it very clear that he was on the Vibe and Wrestling show that he wants to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and at some point Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Big E, Drew McIntyre, all these guys. I think it's awesome. And the thing is, I know right now bron-brekker, the name does not sit well with some people. I think at some point they'll definitely tie in the Steiner lineage. They've done those little one-liners here and there, the whole thing about the dog-faced gremlin and referencing the Impact Wrestling promo and things like that, the math or whatever. I'm okay with those little hints now, but at some point you need to embrace it. And people love it when something's authentic and natural and real, and I think that's what we need in his situation. But let's be real. The guy has got the body, the look, and one of the things that is so underappreciated, I think he has the mentality, the understanding, the psychology down, which is fabulous. And he's not really a heel or a face. He's that tweener. And I think right now that's exactly what we need is some good tweeners in WWE. The only problem I have with his character, if you go back a few weeks, he came out, he was cutting a promo on the entry ramp, and he was wearing a white shirt with a black blazer, and he looked magnificent. if you asked me that night, I was like, wow, he looks like a guy who could be like a Triple H, the guy who looks fashionable but can really go in the ring. I love that look. I'm not a fan of the 1990s color-coded Rick Steiner throwback singlet. I'm not. I think it takes away from the legitimacy vibe that his character needs to have. This guy is a stud. He ties in all the Steiner's classic moves, some of his own flair, and all that. He looks incredible in the ring, and I really think he has a bright future. We need to move past the funky colored singlet. I know that seems so trivial, but let's be honest. Stars have been made or broken for smaller things than the color of the clothing. So if we could find a way to present him in a way that makes him a legit attraction and takes advantage of his God-given talents, both in the ring, intellectually, and aesthetically, then I think he has got an incredible future in front of him. And I think WWE may be sitting on a gold mine with bron-brekker, because he, coming out of NXT War Games, I think he really made it clear how much of a star he could be. Somebody else that we do have to be concerned with, though, Jeff Hardy, in the news. Everybody at this point probably has heard. He was at a house show in Corpus Christi, Texas, teaming with Xavier Woods and Drew McIntyre, taking on the Bloodline. He was in the ring for most of the match, and at some point, he makes the hot tag. Drew McIntyre comes in. You can check the video out. It's on Twitter, and when he rolls out of the ring, he then jumps the guardrail and just exits the building. Security had to follow him, and he leaves the arena. And it's weird because when you watch the match back, in the ring, McIntyre and Woods are celebrating, and they have no idea where he is. He then missed the next show. He was replaced by Rey Mysterio, and, no one has any idea what's going on. He's supposed to be in the main event at SmackDown this coming week. So they've got to figure something, or maybe not the main event. He's teaming with Drew McIntyre to take on Madcap Moss and Happy Baron Corbin, but he's scheduled to be a part of SmackDown. So people have been asking questions. Matt Hardy chimed in a little bit. His wife put out, we get a lot of questions about TOH. That would be the other Hardy. We get a lot. We can't ignore them. Matt responded. He said that he had talked to Jeff earlier in the day, and he's at home doing fine. He said, I won't ignore the messages. I did speak to Jeff for a little bit today. He's okay. He's good. I think he'll be fine. But once again, this isn't my business. And if he wants to go into it in more detail, then he'll do it for himself. But Jeff is okay. He's at home and he's okay. That's the quote from Matt on Twitter. I hope he's doing all right. I hope he's, hasn't, for lack of better terms, fallen off the wagon. He's had some previous demons that have always been a challenge for him. I hope he's doing well. If not, I hope WWE supports him and gets him whatever help he needs, especially after all that he's put himself throughout his career. But you also have to wonder, at what point will WWE say, you know what, enough's enough? They have a policy where they'll take care of his medical expenses if he needs some kind of treatment. But how long can you trust him to be a performer in your company when there are concerns about reliability and things of that nature? And we've seen that with other wrestlers in the past, going all the way down to the Ultimate Warrior, who was not reliable, and how much that could bring a push to a screeching halt. He really could have done some things right now in this program. He's working with McIntyre on SmackDown, and I'm hoping he gets it together, and I'm hoping he's okay, and I'm hoping it's not demon related. I hope there's just some other explanation, but if there's not, I have prayers and well wishes for Jeff Hardy. I just hope he's making the decisions he needs to put himself in the best possible position. In the other news for the week, Jonah Rock announced for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla's Battle of Los Angeles. If you've never seen PWG, you're missing out. Check out previous tournaments for Battle of Los Angeles. It's like a pantheon of who's who of current megastars. All kinds of Ricochet, Will Ospreay, the Young Bucks, all kinds, Kenny Omega. People have been in that tournament who are legitimately the face of the industry right now. And it's a tournament you don't want to miss. Jonah Rock is he used to be Bronson Reed in NXT. Now he's Jonah Rock. He's the first entrant announced. I think he brings a little bit of star pop to the show. I hope he has that opportunity to really broaden his horizons by going to the event. If you're trying to make a big splash on the indie scene, the Battle of Los Angeles tournament is a great place to be. He has showed up for New Japan Pro Wrestling and Impact Wrestling in the last week or two. The Impact debut I was okay with. I think Impact Wrestling's dropping the ball right now because everybody in the world that shows up on the show wants to throw out some shade at the world champion Moose. And it's like, well, who the heck is the guy who's going to challenge? Because everybody keeps, throwing out their hatred for the guy. Is it going to be Jonah Rock? Is it going to be Matt Cardona, who was out there throwing his frustrations around. Is Josh Alexander going to get his rematch yet? Probably not, unfortunately, even though he would be the best person to be the flag bearer of the company. So their world championship picture is a little clouded at the moment, but with him showing up there, Jonah Rock showing up there, it's just one more big man who, let's be honest, for a big guy, he really can move in the ring, and I'm impressed with his work, always have been. I thought WWE dropped the ball by letting him go, and I wish nothing but great success to the young man. I hope he does very well in whatever he chooses to do, but right now he's spreading himself out a little bit, which is probably a good thing. Get some experience in different styles, go different places, see how different people book you, and see where it goes from there. Talking about big shows, December pay-per-views, they just don't do well. That's the word on Wrestling Observer Radio. Dave Meltzer talking about why day one is such a big deal. It's a Nick Khan idea, and the plan is they want this to be an annual pay-per-view, January 1st every year. My concerns are this. First off, they're rushing the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns thing just to legitimize this as a big pay-per-view. I don't think you had to do that, but whatever. If they want to do that, they can. The plan is for Reigns and Lesnar to face each other at Mania again. I don't know if you have Lesnar win the Royal Rumble and then challenge Reigns or what you do to make that happen. There's a lot of time to fill between January 1st and WrestleMania. You've got to have Reigns doing something of value. I expect Reigns to retain it at day one and for Lesnar to win at Mania, but we'll see. But the word is that this is only being done because they really want to solidify this as a major show. Now, the problem I have with that is the Royal Rumble is 3 weeks afterwards, 3-4 weeks later. So you got to really think about, like, how many big shows do you want to put that close together? Plus, there's going to be another Saudi Arabia show at some point, February, March-ish area. Plus, you've got, No Way Out, shows like that. So WWE's got a whole lot of pay-per-view time to fill between January and WrestleMania, and I don't want them to saturate the market so much that people give WWE programming a tough time sometimes, but they really do put on some good shows. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Royal Rumble has always been my favorite, even over WrestleMania, ever since it came out. I really enjoy the Rumble, but when you're putting a major show on January 1st, another one before the end of January, early February, and you got No Way Out in February, you got something in March, you probably do a Saudi Arabia show. It's so much, it really is, and at some point, you kind of need to pull it back. That's why I'm kind of glad they're pulling back the December thing, because it makes it seem like they're giving you a little bit of a break before they slam you with a whole lot of other stuff. So hopefully this show comes off well. The card is shaping up, and it's looking like it's going to be a solid card. We'll have to see where things go from there. A little bit of tidbit for the AEW fans out there. Mark Henry, he spoke this week to Booker T, and he talked about, or I apologize, he had previously talked to Booker T, and said that he wanted to have one more match in WWE before he retired. Now, that's going back prior to his signing with AEW. Then, when he signed with AEW after WWE did that whole thing where they were insulting all the veterans and whatnot, he changed his stance, said his last match would happen in AEW. Well, now we're at the end of 2021. He was on I-95's Large Dave show, and he was asked whether or not he'd get back in the ring, and he said, you made me laugh. I'm not getting back in there. If somebody hits me, I'm calling the police. So the problem is the dude's 50 years old at this point. He's an incredible talent, always has been. I wouldn't say he's a Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels kind of technical wrestler, but I think what he is an incredible big man, power wrestler, innovative for the big guys, and he's still influencing that with everything he contributes backstage. But if he leaves now, his last match would have been the 50-man Greatest Royal Rumble way back in April of 2018, over 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. The one that was won by Braun Strowman in Saudi Arabia. His last single match would be over 4 years ago, February 2017, when he lost to Braun Strowman on Raw. That's a problem. This guy's given a lot to the business. And we'd love to see him have just one more shot. And I don't mean a run or a series of matches. I mean one match. And it wouldn't even have to be a singles match. You could put him in there with Paul White, the Big Show, and maybe throw Shaq in there. Make it a 6-man tag team match. These 3 huge masses of humanity against 3 young guys, just who you're not going to destroy their character by having them lose to these old veterans and a basketball player. And just have it as be an attraction, but give Mark Henry the opportunity to go out with his hand raised, knowing it's his last match, so people can celebrate him and his contributions to the business. I think at this point, he's earned that. So many other people have gotten treated that way, and I think Mark Henry deserves that kind of treatment, because I think he's that important to the history of the business. I really do. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next show where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing any music or sound effects we use in our shows. Today's show is sponsored by Beazle Games, bringing a new friend to family game that is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game by Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life educational planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us tonight. And until next time, take care, have a blast, and watch as much wrestling as you can. Have a good one.